Hello viewers, Super GT here. Welcome back to another Forza 7 video. Now they've added a significant update in November, and the main thing they've changed is the collision model. This is the main topic of this video. I'm going to go through a bunch of races as per usual, as we can expect our usual carnage, especially because we're at Monza. Avoiding the first collision, and we've got our first big sign, literally, of danger, which is flying towards us. It just flies over the top of us, thankfully. We all know that these signs spell imminent death should they hit you, or should you drive into them. Now let's have a look then into the actual first chicane. What's going to go on here? I'm in 14th, and well, doesn't seem to have sorted too much at this point here, and we end up in 5th. A good steady 9 positions in one chicane. Just your typical day. Okay, we avoid an attack at Lesmo 1. Going for the Noble M600. Trusty car here in S class. We'll also do some B class races in this video too. So trying to catch up to the back of these guys here. So the main thing they've changed is the collision model. The cars just react a lot less now, so that they feel a lot heavier, essentially. You try to make contact with someone, they don't really move, you don't really move. And I do agree, I definitely think that the cars reacted too light before. So you make contact, like barely any contact, you'd be sent spinning, like doing a 900 spin. As well, I tried to go around this corner and just completely fail and go off onto the gravel. And can we make it 2 laps in a row that someone's off at this chicane? Yes, we can. Plenty more collisions. So this is the thing I was going to point out here. So yes, we have this new model where the collisions don't really affect the cars as much, but does that mean that people are going to drive cleaner, and intend to be cleaner? Not really. If anything, I'll say now you can afford to be lazier, knowing that contact isn't really going to affect anyone. You don't really have to be so careful. And I would say actually maybe now there might actually be even more collisions. I mean, this is only my first session, so I think we do really need to wait for this whole thing to settle down and then really see what happens. Because of course on the first day when everything's new, not everyone's going to be used to it, and we'll be driving a little bit different compared to normal. 3rd lap in a row, people off at the chicane, and we are back into 6th place. And on the back of this McLaren once again, we did get past, but then bottled it around Curva Grande, which is a fearsome corner when you avoid that, or when you cut out that first chicane, and you go flat out through there. You're going into Curva Grande in this car at nearly 200 miles an hour. Scary proposition, especially with F4H Super GT behind the wheel. Up into Ascari, now right on the back of the McLaren. Looks like he's got the nicer grip, as I'd expect from that car. Through the chicane, actually gets a bit of slide on. And on the way out, I am going to get the drive and the power to go past quite easily and take 5th. The race is spread out at the front. Might not be many more potential for positions, although we have had people off at the chicane on every lap so far. That could easily happen, and that is a point here. You see that contact? That is the good thing about this physics model. It's just those little nitty-gritty contact that happens quite a lot, and normally I'd be spun around there quite easily and I'd lose like 2 seconds. But here, it really solves that issue of little bits of contact which happen a lot, and instead of just being spun out, you actually can carry on. So the main benefits I can see so far are on lap 1, people aren't spinning all over the place. Yes, this was a horrible example that I just showed here. On turn 1, everyone went off, but only because they're stupid, not really because of the model. I think typically the physics model will mean that like the first couple of corners, people can make little bits of contact, which is often hard to avoid because it is turn 1. You know, you've got 20 people right next to each other. It's very hard to avoid contact sometimes. And I think on lap 1 it will help that for sure, as people won't be sent spinning and sent into the realm of deadly shadows. But there are some downsides, we'll go through those as well. But also, yeah, there was that little bit of contact, and sometimes those little bits of contact won't really affect you, which is also, I think, a good thing. But as we come up to the finish line, into the slipstream of the Lotus, over the line in 4th, it was really close, 0.004 of a second as we cross. Here is the downside of this new model, and this is a clip by Aerox Chris. And look at the Lamborghini ahead. Here's a back marker. This is lap 13. Look how close all of these players are. So from about 2nd to 7th, they are having an amazing race. And this one guy just swerves across, and he just blocks the whole group of people, like 7 players here. And this one guy is just swerving across. And because of the physics model, you can't get rid of him. Like his car is rock solid, and you can't move him out the way. So at least previously, you could just ram them off and get them out the way. But now they're just stuck in the middle, and here's another example. You kind of just get stuck together. They've just become Siamese twins on the back straight of Sebring, and in a way, I think it might actually be easier for one rammer to hold the whole lobby to ransom now. Now that they can kind of do that, their car doesn't have any chance of being thrown away from a collision. It can just stay dead in the centre, just ram across, turn left and right, block everyone, and you can't get rid of them. You can't move them out of the way. So there's a definite downside to this. And I think anyone in like a Ford Raptor, I think people have been experiencing this. Someone just sitting there in a Ford Raptor, a lap down, just swerving across, blocking everyone, and you can't get rid of them. You can't move them, and well, that's a potential. Well, not a potential. It is a problem that will have to be solved. And of course, ghosting back markers would solve it instantly. And I'm not sure why that hasn't been done yet, but I suppose we have to wait on that one. Anyway, we come to VIR. The signs of death make another appearance. You can see them there as that guy goes into the sign on the right hand side and slows them right down. That's another thing that it's a weird quirk. It's not really anything to do with this new collision model, although it is a collision. They should really just tone down the collisions on those boards, or just get rid of them. So I remember actually I think it was season 1 or series 1 this year, Lage got completely done over by one of those signboards, during an esports event, which is really ridiculous, really. And so I think those boards, they kind of just need to do away with them completely. But that's just my opinion, really. I suppose, adding all these tyre walls, deformable walls and stuff adds effects to the game, but sometimes it just adds to the carnage, really, unnecessarily. So there's a bit of contact into the hairpin here. We're running the infield version. I don't know which version of VIR this is actually called, but no doubt at some point in your life you would have raced VIR. You haven't played Forza 7 if you haven't played VIR at night or multiplayer. And we're actually catching up quickly to these here. There's actually a nice group of 5 of us away at the front. Skyline goes wide, up the inside into 3rd, up behind a Noble and the Ferrari F50. So this race settled down quite nicely. VIR, famous or infamous for his first turn, which is notoriously bad. And actually, as I explained earlier, the collisions weren't too bad here. So there were collisions, but no one was, completely getting spun out, which is good to see. And it definitely does help the race get into a flow, rather than, normally what happens is a couple of people crash, the race just gets immediately spread out massively. But here, at least with the collisions the way they are now, people are a lot closer and can actually have a race rather than everyone being so spread so quickly. Into turn 1, it's only lap 2. This guy is lagging all over the place. I'm not quite sure of his exact whereabouts. He's kind of here and there and everywhere. He actually goes through though, up into 3rd, and then just biffs off this guy, just smashes him off the track. And well, onto the next turn. And well, off he goes. To be fair, sorry mate, couldn't quite see where you were. And he's off the track now. So I guess maybe you can ram people off still. But I'll blame that one on his awful lag, even though obviously that wasn't the reason. And now in 2nd, trying to catch up with the F50, lost a bit of ground as a result of our altercations early on this lap. Through the S's, got through there nicely. Tricky section, that really difficult to get right, very easy just to get some oversteer and slide yourself into the wall. and get sent to oblivion. Okay, into the oak tree corner. Nice late apex. The car not quite rotating as much as I would have liked. Onto the back straight. Looking for the cones on the left hand side. The second set. There we go. Brake on the end of those. That's normally a good braking point for this turn. And we're in perfectly. Into the infield. Can we catch up with this F50? F50 a really strong car in S-Class. But can I overhaul it in the Porsche GT3 RS? Over the crest. Very misleading turn. Can tempt you in, you know, you really want to go in fast into that one, but then as you go over the crest the car goes light and your steering gets worse. You do need to slow down a little bit earlier than you might think for that one. So catching up once again for this section, you know, grazing two wheels over the grass, that's kind of the falls away. As long as you keep two wheels on the track, it's deemed clean, and actually the grass can help rotate the car at times, and well, that's kind of a method that works on this game. Just, you know, grazing two wheels over the grass. That's just the way it is, I suppose. So coming round towards the final turn, I caught up with him, but couldn't really pressure him into a mistake. Didn't really have enough time. He drove fairly well here, and didn't really have any overtaking opportunities. That final turn isn't really a great overtaking opportunity unless they make a big mistake on the way out. But we are going to come through to finish second. Not too bad a result here at VIR at night, the staple Forza Online race, and we eventually land on our wheels. There are the results, just about getting, I think, the fastest lap there, 2:35. I can't see any quick ones. Okay, we move to Daytona. Now we can have a look at the start here. This is the main thing I was going to look at this race in the Lotus. So just trying to keep it really clean on the inside, just trying to mind my own business here. So there will be lots of little taps. You can see there, the guys in the lead, bit of contact. The Noble didn't really move, which is, I suppose, is a good thing, as he can live to fight another day. But I would go back to my original point as I get kind of pushed on here. I would go back to my original point that now that it's less, now that cars move around less, people can afford to be lazy with the contact. They could go for moves that they might not have gone for before. And well, I mean, again, I'd like to know your thoughts on all of this, because it's quite an interesting debate. I would say that the game feels a lot more arcadey now. It does feel a lot more like an arcade game. It's gone that way. It's gone more towards arcade than it has towards simulation. And yes, it may well improve the racing in some respects, but I do think it worsens it in others. It just kind of feels like, in some ways, it feels like a Need for Speed game. In Need for Speed, the cars weigh about 8 times, 8 times the weight of Earth, and you simply cannot move a car out of the way on Need for Speed. You know, if you hit a car, it's just a rock and it will not move. And it kind of feels a little bit like that. It feels unnatural. It doesn't feel quite right. I suppose, yes, I will have to get used to it, and maybe in a month's time I won't be saying that. Maybe. But it does feel weird. It doesn't feel quite natural. I think my main analysis really is that before this update, as second place just gets familiar with the collision physics of that wall. So before, it was too light. The cars reacted too much, but now I'd say they react too little. I'll say you still need to have some sort of effect where cars get spun out a little bit as I land that flip nicely. Sometimes it can be annoying because sometimes it's natural for a car, if it's getting spun out, to wash out wide and get out of the way. Here, cars kind of get stuck against each other and kind of stay on the racing line, and it can get quite awkward. We can have another look at start here. This is B class now, driving the Holden Tirana at Homestead. Now look at this collision. This was really weird. Big hit in the rear end as we go in. There it is, and I kind of just get pulled back towards the circuit. It was like some really strong anti-ramming suck magnet. I don't know what that was. It was really weird, and there's no way I should have really stayed on the track there, but I did. The forces were with me today. Now this Holden Tirana's got tons of power. It's got barely any handling. It's basically an aircraft carrier. In terms of power and in terms of handling, it has tons of power, and again, no handling. It does barely turn. So you kind of have to point and squirt this thing. This isn't too bad a track for that though. You've got lots of little hairpins and then lots of long straights. So it can work around the circuit. Find ourselves in 9th, into the back of almost the Honda S2000. We receive a bit of contact there, and again, you can see that that's the kind of thing that I may well have been spun out before. Coming through here, the gap kind of closed. I was going to go for it anyway, and again there, all three of us could have ended up dead and upside down, but this time around, the physics model saved us. So you can afford to be a bit more punchy, or get your elbows out a bit more now that the model is the way it is. I kind of pushed this guy a little bit wide. I don't kind of do it, I definitely do it. And then he comes back for a revenge hit, almost. I left loads of space on the inside, and then this hit here, you see there, I would have easily spun out then, but kind of saved myself this time around, as we then progress towards the hairpin on the same lap, in the 6th place of course. And you look at the power on this thing, the Holden Tirana, absolute monster. On the way out of the turn, onto the oval, guy in the MX-5 standing no chance against this level of power. So they're flying past. At the end of the race, finishing 5th, and not too much drama in the last few races.
Não, velho. Não, é porque na realidade é o seguinte, o pessoal, e tem pessoal aí que tá tirando, a gente tenta jogar.
Now that was really weird. I was in a party, but I could still hear people talking, and I'm pretty sure they were mentioning Super GT. I could hear YouTube. They kept saying YouTube and Super GT. So maybe if you're watching, well done, you're in the video. And that was, I don't know if anyone's had that issue where you're in a party and yet you can still hear everyone, because the chat was really loud and it was really distracting. You might have noticed it in the previous video. Now I'm going to get kind of pushed wide here, so you know, as good as the collision model might be at preventing that kind of thing, it might not prevent it completely. Well, it definitely won't prevent it completely. As we then come in towards turn number 3, getting flanked either side by late breakers, and we overtake the lot of them and reclaim our 11th position up the hill over the crest behind the MX-5 once again. I've gone for the Ford SVT Cobra. To be honest, I don't really have too many great B-class cars. It's not one that I'm too familiar with. Maybe I just need to download an S2000 and be done with it. But just kind of going for everything, different cars. And that reminds me there, as I went over that curb, on simulation damage there are still problems with the curb. Of course this is presumably going to get patched at some point, but the curbs can really mess you up with, since this update. There's an awkward collision there, and Nate kind of sticking his nose in on the way out, not really allowing me to take the racing line. And there's further contact through the kink, and out of the smoke emerges a BMW in which I hit and lose all my speed and go down to 12th. Later on, trying to claim back some positions and some pride. Is it possible? Yes, they got the channel synopsis dead right. Forza and GT Sport. And yes, my name is Super GT. As we carry on here amongst the Portuguese chatter, can we reclaim a top 10 position? Not being a great race really. But you see on the map, I don't know if you can see on the map there, bottom left of the screen, the race spread isn't too big. I know it's only been 4 minutes, but then again, most races are only about this length, and normally the field spread can be a lot larger. So that is one thing. It does promote closer racing. It does keep the pack closer together. But it does feel to me, it just feels a little bit unnatural. It feels a little bit weird. The way that the collisions are, feels a little bit arcadey. Doesn't feel. It feels a bit artificial, to be honest. But I don't know. I've kind of really mixed responses to this. And again, I do like to hear what your thoughts are on this whole debacle, because I was reading the forums, and I think the response is very mixed as well. And ultimately, I mean, I'm still going to enjoy playing this game. I still love playing Forza, so I'm still going to carry on with it. I mean, it's not really going to change my thoughts on the game overall too much, but I would like to see the weight of the car toned down a little bit, because I think it's a little bit too heavy at the moment. As we're going to come across the line to finish 9th, we got past our best bud Nate there in the end. Okay, we moved to Prague, over in Europe this time around. Okay, Dodge Viper, B-Class, it's one of my favourite cars. We get passed by the Alpha 33 into turn 1. I'm going to hold a nice outside line, give the guy on the inside space and sweep around the Honda S2000. Nice move to keep my third. We've got the Hot Wheels car here, so the Hot Wheels cars added as part of this update. I smash the wall, lose a mirror, but he grinds to a halt against the wall. I'm into second across the bridge. Can we claim a win here up against a tough opponent, the Alpha 33? Oh man, what a car. Into the long right. So beautiful corner this one, kind of use that little bit of tarmac on the left hand side there to kind of help you around with a little bit of extra camber. Into the final sequence. Awkward little chicane this, and I've gone way too deep. I kind of followed the guy in front rather than following my own line. He's gone into the wall and then onto the other side as well. It's going to be a drag race down the main straight, following the tram lines, and I'm through into the lead of the race. Can we have a good sector here, establish ourselves a lead, and then maybe go about winning a race for once? Is it possible? It's a nice line through turn 1. The proximity arrows there. He was close, but not quite close enough to go for that pass. And he's still there, hanging about, very close, about 20 feet behind. I'm going to still swing it into the turn and pull away nicely over the bridge, through the tunnel, and we are away 100 feet, the gap now. You can see the gap developing. Good first sector. I've established the lead, and hopefully they can start fighting amongst themselves back there as we come round towards the Tunnel of Love, which may not be the Tunnel of Love for much longer because of the collisions. People won't be sent into the air upside down, flying, dying, etc. Well, they might, probably still will happen. You know, it's Forza. I think it's a core principle of Forza that death is inevitable. As we come towards the end of the race, lap 5 of 5, it was a fairly comfortable one in the end. We did have a guy in second who kind of lapped similar for the last couple of laps, but I had already established a nice lead by that point. But that brings this video pretty much to a close. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this update. Quite a major update, I think, because it does definitely change the fundamentals of the game, the way that it plays, the way that it feels. It really does change quite a lot for me. But I'd like to know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching as always. Thanks for the support on the channel. Much appreciated as always. I think it's been incredible this year. To get 100k and then to almost get 150. It's just mega. I honestly just blown away by how good it's been. Just the comments, the support, the donations, the patron support, and just the constant views. I'm just glad to have you all back for every video. Thank you as always for watching. I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Listen.